Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Rochelle K with My Child Too. I am here with a dear friend of mine. His name is Eric Penna, and he's going to tell us about the Day of the Dead. It's coming up soon, and I just wanted to dig in deep with it just to see like what it's about and what the beliefs are and things like that. So, Eric, welcome. Come on in.
Hey, Rochelle, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. It's good to see you.
Always, always.
Yeah, I love what you're doing here with the podcast.
Yeah, I'm trying to do some positive things. Sometimes death does not come around as being positive. So I got some new things coming up for the new year, some different stuff. But I'm excited. I think the platform allows people to give their story of what happened to them and how they're dealing with it. That's really what it's about, just helping us better cope through or navigate through grief.
Yeah, totally. I get it. Love it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and then come on in. Tell us about the Day of the Dead.
Sure. Yeah. Rochelle and I met as neighbors. She's probably been the best neighbor I've ever had uh, in Houston a few years back. But yeah, we've always maintained contact. And yeah, what's funny is speaking of Day of the Dead, I actually am pretty close to that holiday for two reasons. One being of Mexican descent, and number two, that my birthday falls on the Day of the Dead in Mexico, which is November 2nd. November 1st, I think, is All Saints Day. Um, and the tradition started in Mexico, and it was a way to once the mourning period, right? Like your initial mourning period when someone passes away, and then you go grief, you mourn, and then later on as the years pass, they thought it would be prudent to, rather than be sad and mourning these, those loved ones that have passed in the past, it was more of a tradition to celebrate them. So what a lot of people do is you'll see them create shrines, and they'll have the candy skulls and very colorful. And at some cemeteries, you might see people taking some of that individual's favorite items to um, their tombstone, and setting up a shrine with their pictures, and making it very colorful, and essentially, celebrating the life that, those individuals all had on earth, and then the time that they were able to rejoice with them. And it's that one time of year where, you sometimes, out of sight, out of mind, right? People do pass, and oftentimes, in some cases, there's not a day goes by where some people don't think of that lost loved one, but in other cases where it may not be someone so close, but they passed away, it's a time to just revisit them and celebrate them, and the good times that you had with them. And yeah, so it's a fun holiday. In Mexico, they actually do some really cool events if you ever have a chance. In a small town called San Miguel de Allende, there's a really cool, pretty much the whole week. It goes from, let's say, it probably start on Wednesday or Thursday of this week and go through Sunday, um, celebrating, Halloween, All Saints Day, and then Day of the Dead.
Okay. So, Eric, is there any significance to why it's right like around Halloween? Is it any significance to the actual date, or is it just a date that was chosen? Do you know?
Um, I think there is some significance to it. I don't, I'd be lying if I told you why they chose that day, but I do believe there is some significance to it because it is um, a registered holiday in Mexico.
Okay. So In other islands or other countries, do they also celebrate this day, or is this just like a Mexican holiday?
Yeah, no, some others do. There's other Latin American countries, South American countries that have also taken on the tradition. Maybe even in Europe. I know here in the United States, with a lot of Latin influence, you start to see a lot more about it. It's become more popular over the years here in the
Okay.
U.S. But I think the origination was Mexico, and it's kind of trickled around the globe.
Okay. So Eric, when they're making these sugar skulls and the flowers and things like that, and they're making the shrines, what what would you say that actually is? So they're giving, are they trying to make themselves happy, or are they trying to make the deceased happy? Is it a touching of the ones that have passed? Like, do they think they came back? Like, what's the thought process of that, if you
No,
know?
I think it's if particularly in the case of if you created a shrine and you focused it on one individual or a few individuals that were very close to you, I think it's you showing your gratitude to them and celebrating them on that one day of the year. Um, if it was a significant person, say like a mother, a father, and a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, right? Um, it's you're, it's the day to celebrate them, remember them, maybe think of the good times you had with them. But no, I don't think there's anything spiritual where they think that there's some form of like communication or some people might, right? But no, it's just a gratitude. So it's more of a probably a self-satisfaction thing to the person that's doing it.
Okay.
Um, to show their love and gratitude towards those that have passed and who they want to spotlight on that day.
Okay. And Eric, by this being your birthday, I'm going to ask, do you actually participate? Is it any lives or lost souls that you actually celebrate by, participating?
Um, yeah, I mean, my grandparents are probably the closest people to me, most closest, most important people that I've lost in my lifetime to now. So Um, yeah, we'll definitely go to the cemetery this weekend and just visit them, celebrate them, um, maybe play some music with them that they used to like, and leave them some flowers and a couple mementos. But yeah, and in
Okay.
my
So let me ask,
case,
okay, and we get it. So let me ask you this. So, um, you do that for that day. So then, like, um, Americans, we may do that on the birthday or Thanksgiving or something like
yeah,
that. Do you still participate that way as well?
yeah,
Or is
yeah,
this just the
totally.
only day? Okay, so
No,
you
no,
still do the,
definitely. Like Mother's Day, Father's Day,
okay,
your key holidays throughout the year.
okay. I wanted to ask you, um, so do you want me to call it Latin or do you want me to call it Spanish? Well, in that way, do you guys, when you guys have losses, are your funerals like similar to our funerals? Like, is there a difference? Like, do you guys do cremations often or not do them? Like,
It
give me some
it
insight.
depends. It depends. I yeah, the cremation thing I think is more of modern way of um a modern way of, dealing with someone after they've deceased, right? But no, traditionally most Latin funerals are, burials. Um and yeah, I mean there's celebrations of life depending on obviously there's levels of this, right? Like if it was an out, old age, so you usually celebrating a person, and it's everybody that knew that person will come and tell stories, and you'll you'll remember that person, and sometimes at funerals I think you learn more about that deceased person than you ever knew, because you get a lot of stories from people that may have never told that story, or you never heard that story, right? um but yeah, that's typically and then if you have something that's either unforeseen or catastrophic, or um a very sad way of dying, it could be a little different, right? There's a lot, the grief and the mourning is different, and it's still a celebration of life, but it's a little bit more somber feel, I think.
Okay. And so you stated earlier, you said, hey, so we have the mourning period. What does that mean, a mourning period?
Yeah, that's when someone's, you're
I
getting the
mean, it's
tears out, you're getting all of that. Yeah, it's when you almost feel like, you know, the world is caving in on you, right? I mean, I've seen it where people have had a death in their family, and you know, there's nothing you could do to make that person be in
right.
that moment, right? It's a period of time that there's just, there's
So,
the
so what
mourning,
I'm,
getting it out. Yeah.
yeah, so what I'm trying to ask you is, so I get that part, but is it like a certain period? Like I've known some religions or nationalities may say, hey, we got seven
Oh,
days to,
no.
and that's
Oh,
our
no, no.
mourning
No, I
period.
see what you mean. Yeah, like in Asian countries, I think they do stuff like that. No, no. Here it's a little different. I think a lot of that's religious based too, right? Whatever your beliefs are.
Okay. Yeah, because I was reading when I had had my loss. I was reading and I was like, okay, that it was 7 days or 14 days or something. I'm like, that really sounds good. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
See, that 14-day came, it was like, girl, ain't you can't do it. You still in it. So yeah. So I wanted to ask you about the souls and the spirits. So when we talk about the Day of the Dead, you kind of touched on it a little bit because I was wondering, like, does it have anything to do with like spirits or souls, or is there any kind of communication? You said that it's probably not, but when I think of the Day of the Dead in my mind, if when I hear that term, it just kind of makes me feel like people may be reaching out at that time to try to
Sure.
communicate. No?
Sure. Sure. I mean, it could be very possible. Um, my personal experience, I've never, done that, or seen it as something that I wanted to do. But yeah, I think it's definitely possible that there's people that might practice that, or go into it wanting or looking for that, and some may get the response or the sign or whatever they're asking for, and some may not, and then do it again, and do it again until maybe they do, or never they don't. But yeah, I could see how people could do that.
Okay, so listen to this. So you lost your grandma, right? And your grandpa. And so once you lose them, do you celebrate them every year, or is it just like the year after? Or is this just a continuation until somebody else is added? Like, how does that work?
No, it's every year, right? I
Okay.
mean, as long as you know whether or not the those younger generations will continue, that is
Okay.
still to be determined, right? But a lot of this was ingrained from our grandparents into my generation and my cousins, um and a lot of those things over time, these generational things, with the way that new generations advance and they're so dynamic, um some may carry it on, some may not, and
Okay.
given the climate here in this country, it might be something that's not as prevalent, and become the foreseeable future, but who knows?
Right. Okay. And so is it something that you look forward to? Is it something that people like, hey, that day is coming. I'm excited about it. Is it like I know it's a holiday, but is it like something that people get excited about? More people being
Oh,
excited.
definitely.
Okay.
There's definitely people. I know people that, they start making their shrine already, right? They've already started. But there's even a store in the Heights here in Houston where this lady has stuff devoted to this, to making these shrines. So somebody's made a business out of it, believe it or not.
Yeah, I would believe it because it's something that people feel inside. It's an emotional feeling. So I would think that, yeah, when emotions are tied to things, you can most
Yeah.
definitely try to, um get some sales.
Yeah.
That's probably get some sales or whatever.
Hey, that's
Gotta
why
do what you
funeral
gotta do.
homes got that's why funeral homes make money, right?
Yep, that's why. I'm gonna ask you about that too. So with funerals for Latin Americans or for Latin people, are they kind of like on the same level as our funerals? I mean, is it I know that just tell me, is it kind of the same? Like, are we all doing like the same thing?
Yeah, you have, a typical funeral would be, you know, a couple days or the day before the burial, you'll have, a wake, right? A day or two
Mm.
before, and then the day of the funeral, you'll have casket open or not, just depending on the
Thank you.
nature of the deceased person. And then after that, you'll have some religious words. Mo- Typically, it's, in most Latin countries, it's probably Catholic, but there's all kinds of religions, right? But
Right.
in my particular case, right, you'd have a priest come in, kind of give um, a sermon and some verses and some consoling words. And if 9 times out of 10 they knew this person, they'll give some insight to that, and then you'll have some words spoken by the family, and then they'll take a casket out to from the funeral home to the burial site, and then there you'll have another small service, right? And then after that, I mean, not really a party, but it turns into a
Celebration.
celebration of life. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
to remember and rejoice on that person, right? And I think a lot of times it's also to help those that have been affected by it, to kind of maybe just decompress from all of that, feeling and emotion and stress that probably just came with that event, before you have to go back to reality.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We always have to get back to reality, right? Get back to work, get back to the normal things. Life continues, for us. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's kind of like, are you ready for that? Sometimes you're not, but you still have to, go back into it. Most jobs give you what, 3 days, depending on how close the person was to you. Let me um let me ask you. So we kind of talked about the cremation. I want to ask you this. This is kind of like a touchy subject, and I don't want to ask, but I need to ask, right? So, in the Latin communities or Latin people, do you guys have a lot of murders?
Murders?
Mhm.
Oh
Not murderers,
yeah.
but people being
Yeah,
killed.
people getting, yeah, yeah, especially in, south of the border,
Okay,
right? I mean, at one point, there's several cities in Mexico that were the most dangerous place in the world, right? I mean,
right.
a
Hmm.
lot of that is fueled by extracurricular activity, right? That's kind of how that lifestyle goes. But is there murders? Yes, there's lots. And here in the States too, right? I mean, there's plenty of murders in the Latin community, Latin on Latin, murders. Yeah, I don't think that. Well, there's just a lot of hot-headed people out there, and the guns don't discriminate, right? Like if you give the wrong person a gun, whether doesn't matter the race they may be, like you're gonna have murders.
Yeah. I just kind of thought about that because by doing this podcast, I have a lot of African Americans basically is who I'm talking to. No problem with it at all. And we're kind of talking about the tragedies, and most of the tragedies are due to murder, right? So, when you in your bubble, because that's what we're kind of in, we kind of just see what's going on in our communities and how things are happening for us and how bad it is, right? So I just really kind of wanted to pose the question just to see because I see it on TV, you know what I'm saying? I see it with the Chinese or those type of people you see where they've gone wrong and they're into those extra things that they're doing, and you have these guns and these murders, but you don't know if it's true because we don't hear their news. I guess we could listen to it, but we don't hear their news, and a lot of times
Yeah.
our situations don't hit the news either. So I was just really
Yeah,
kind of
you'd be
curious.
surprised. Look up one day, look, you know, murder rates in Mexico, and it'll blow your mind away. It will completely blow your mind away. And most of them will probably go unsolved forever, unfortunately, right? Some of them will get solved, but I'd say the statistic on them being solved is extremely low.
Here in the United States, Eric, it's low. It's 50%. 50%
Yeah,
may
you
get
see,
solved.
I would bet
So,
in Mexico alone, it's probably less than 20%. I'd be surprised if it was above that. I mean, it's just the rate's too high, and sometimes you get, you know, mass murders, where they take just a whole group of people, and yeah, it's bad. Look it
oh
up.
wow.
It'll blow your mind away.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up because I just never really thought about it until you and I were having this conversation. So let me ask this because I was just wondering. So I guess this is just a human thing where we're making decisions to take people's lives. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't know why we
Yeah,
think that that's okay, but I guess it's just a human thing, and it probably always have been one. It's just kind of different because maybe we're actually in wars that we don't really realize that we're in. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how
definitely.
I would feel like that's where all of this came from. It's basically like war, like someone wants what someone else has have, what someone wants what belongs to someone else, or
Yeah,
they could just want to be empowered. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
yeah, it's crazy, and I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah, I wanted to know that. So yeah, just wanted to kind of talk to you about the Day of the Dead and just kind of see what was like.
yeah.
Now these sugar skulls, like what are they? Is it actual sugar?
No, no, that's just what they're called. It's just those.
It looks white.
Yeah, they have different ones. You'll see them around places like something like that, right? It could be anything, but most of them are going to be paper or just painted or colored. They're just um yeah, they kind of look like that, but imagine if you had a flat one, and they'll have
Okay.
flowers on them and stuff like that.
Okay. And then does the skull actually represent anything?
No, I think that's no, maybe
It's
it does. I'm sure there is some significance to it. I'd be lying if I told you what it was, but I'll
I'll
have
look
to
it up.
look at. Yeah,
I'll look it up. I was just curious. Maybe you knew um what the what it stood for,
yeah, I'm not
why they chose
sure.
the skull. But I know I
Yeah,
looked up some flowers, some African gold flowers or something.
yeah, they use marigolds and
Marigold, that's what they're called. African
yeah,
marigold flowers. And they grow
yeah,
only in I think they grow only in Mexico.
yeah. You can grow some here in Texas too if it's hot enough. It takes
Also,
takes a
it's
lot of
based on the
heat.
heat. Takes a lot of
Yeah,
heat. Okay.
yeah. I had some and they died once it started cooling down.
Okay. Okay.
No, just I think. those the audience to your podcast, if it's something that they've never done, give it a try, and then right, this year celebrate one of the deceased that in your family or your group or your one of your friends that's deceased, and just take a moment to maybe reflect on them, and as you said, maybe spiritually give them a hello and let them know, hey, thought about you, I remembered this time we went and did this, or just replay an event that or experience you had with that person, and yeah, just give it a try. Maybe it'll make you feel good. Maybe something will come of it. Maybe it won't. But in any case, it just um, l- it allows that person's to still live in your memory and live on.
Yeah, and then by you doing it every year too, what you're doing is you're keeping their memory alive, which is great.
That's
You know what I'm
right.
saying? We do the little things like the balloon release and things like that, which could be something that really triggered from the Day of the Dead. You know what I'm saying? Just
There you
still
go.
kind of celebrating year after year. But yeah, I'm gonna really consider that and think about it. And I'm gonna look into it more. I did a little research on it, but not much because I figured that I was gonna sit down and talk to you, and you're just gonna put me
Yeah,
up on everything, on tell me about it all. So, but I have appreciated you, and I'm grateful that you decided to come on and talk to your
yeah. No,
girl. Let
thank you
me
for
know what's
having
going
me.
on. Yeah, with the Day of the Dead, and then that's it. So, hey guys, we've been here. Eric has given us some information, some nuggets about the Day of the Dead so that we can have a better understanding of what that means. I thought it would be good for us, the people here that watch me, and I'm grateful for that. But I thought it would be good for us to have more information. You know what I'm saying? To be smarter in different areas. Information is power, guys, whatever little information it is. So, I just wanted you guys to be aware since the podcast is about grief what actually the Day of the Dead meant and what it stands for and how it helps the Latin community. So thank you, Eric. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Rochelle. Yeah, it was a
Okay.
pleasure.